Hey there, nerds of every stripe. Welcome to the Good Clean Nerdcast, a show where we will shine a spotlight on Kickstarters or other funding platforms that are building some of the best in family friendly and faith infused media for geeks, gamers, readers, and rebels with a righteous cause. I am your host, Radio Matt from Love Thy Nerd, and today, for the pilot, we're hopping into a world of heroic rabbits, epic battles, and stories that don't just entertain, they shape souls. Joining me on the pilot episode is S.D. Smith, author of the Green Ember book series, which I had never heard of before, and now I'm going to be obsessive about. It looks fantastic, and right now they're backing Kickstarter for a joint book and video game that are coming out soon. Now, these are complementary, and it's an ambitious project. The book tells the story of the video game tells the story of the book, and it looks phenomenal. So if you've already been a fan of the Green Ember series, you're going to want to hear what's coming next. And if you've never heard of the Green Ember series before, you're going to want to hear all about it, because I feel like you're going to get just as obsessed as I feel like I'm going to get. Enjoy this interview and the pilot episode of the Good Clean Nerdcast. Joining me is the author behind the Green Ember series. Yes, the one with hashtag rabbits with swords. The one that became a #1 audiobook on Audible. The one that has captured the hearts of kids and their parents around the world. He's also the co-creator of the brand new Green Ember video game that just hit Kickstarter a few days ago. Please welcome to the show, S.D. Smith. Sam, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. I mean, for letting me being here. Thanks for welcoming me.
Thanks for having, and here we are.
Thanks for being
You have me, I have you.
Yes, we have each other. I think that's the important thing.
So S.D. Smith is your pen name, right?
Oh yeah.
It's okay that I call you Sam. I don't have to call you S or SD.
Please, that's how I can tell if somebody actually knows me, because people who don't know me are like, "Hey, SD, how's it going?" I'm like, "We've never met, because you don't know." But it's not exactly a pen name. Those are my initials, but
sure.
But I'm just trying to be
that's how you go author wise.
Yeah, Sam Smith's a little. When I first started writing, I was like, there was a lot of Sam or Samuel Smiths out there, and it was like early. It wasn't early days of internet. It was pretty early days of internet, I guess.
Back when, back when we were in the green and black screens.
Yeah. We were playing Pong with my other with Al Gore, and we were trying to figure out how to do this thing.
Yeah, we're tweaking the system, before he let it out nationwide. Well, let's just dive in and go back to the beginning. The origin story here, as an author, is pretty legendary, I think, for a parent. I hear this all started on a porch in West Virginia with some real life rabbits hopping around the yard and a daughter waiting for a bedtime story. Can you take us back to that moment?
Just keep going. I think you're doing it. Yeah, I mean, like all great video games, this began on the porch in West Virginia. So yeah, like all great inventions.
I hear that's how Fortnite started, Minecraft.
Yeah. I'm assuming, until someone tells me otherwise, I'm assuming that's what's happening. Yeah, man, I was just like one of those dads that told kids stories, and my oldest daughter, I would always tell her stories, and I had several different little series going, but that day there was rabbits hopping around in the yard, and I just told her a story about an older sister rabbit with a younger brother rabbit, and that was kind of the beginning, and she really loved it, and we went on to just. It was like a serial. We had a few different serials going, but that one kind of became the main one, and the other ones were not as popular. And it was just this really special shared time between me and her, and then later on her little brother came along. So the two rabbit protagonists in the story, in the main story, are Heather and Pickett, this older brother and sister, and that was a very natural kind of a story. I didn't really think too much about it. It was like improvised in the moment each time. I was like, oh, what happened last time? Oh yeah. And then we just kind of carry it on. But it became this thing, man. It was like, they wanted me to write it down, and Daddy, you got to write this down as a novel. And So I did, just thinking like, well, we'll have it. It'll be our little thing. It'll be our special,
Yeah.
put a special little time together, a little relic from our little memorial. And then my partner Andrew, he was like, we gotta publish this, and I was like, nope, we don't. We do not have to do that. Let's publish a good book from by a good author, and not this. And he was like, no, it's good, man. Trust me. And so we did, and we put it out there. We actually started on Kickstarter. It's funny because we haven't done a Kickstarter for a long time, but
Yeah.
we did, and it was a good tool for us for that time, and kind of got us started. And then, boy, our elite sales force, as I call them, which is moms mostly, started sharing it with each other, and because it was funny during that time. We went to some conferences. I didn't even know what to go to, but people were like, "Hey, you should go to this," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll go to that." So we went, and people were like, what are you doing for marketing? What's your, you must be, what's your marketing secret?" And I'm like, what do you mean marketing? We're like, we had no idea. I mean, we weren't totally stupid, but
Right.
we just didn't have any margin or money. We weren't doing, it was such a guerrilla operation, but I do credit, it was like moms just loving it and spreading it, kids and moms and dads too, but mostly moms, and just like telling each other about it. And so they kept sort of spreading it around, and it was a real I was just word of mouth.
Yeah.
It was a real surprise to me.
I mean, that's the way to go, I think, when it comes to moms alone. Like moms alone in that situation would work. Any other kind of word of mouth is kind of hit or miss. But I think if you can latch on to mom culture, especially in like a church setting, a Christian
Yeah,
setting, um, yeah, you're made for a while. That's how VeggieTales became popular. I mean,
yeah,
it was all moms
yeah,
in the church.
yeah. I think that was it. That
I think
was
that's cool. I think it was unintentionally using your children as a focus group for what
yeah,
story is good, what story's not.
yeah.
Um,
You should see how quickly I got rid of them after the book took off. I was just like, I don't need you anymore. You know.
oh man, well, that is beautiful though. I love that it wasn't just about creating a safe story because your tagline says that these are tales of light that help shape children who become dangerous to the darkness. What does
Yeah.
that mean to you? What's the bigger purpose behind these stories?
Yeah, I get, even with this video game, a lot of people are sort of like, we never label it as like safe.
Hmm.
There's different ways people talk about these kinds of things, but that's not a label I really like very much. I mean, I
Mm.
understand what they mean, and I'm with you on that. Like it's free from sort of just like, I don't know, like blasphemy and just like gross stuff, or just like weirdly sinful, sick. Like
Right.
I'm on board for that, but I don't like the safety thing because I actually think I think a lot of the stuff that is called safe is actually really dangerous. The stories that lie to children about the world,
Mm.
that tell them that, well, if you just read your Bible or you just tell the truth, then things will work out for you, and you'll win the championship. Or there's sort of like these simplistic moralistic stories. And so we need some simple moral stories. I get that as a moralistic stories, like when we're really little, like don't go into the road. There was a
Hmm.
boy that went into the road and he got hit by a car, and that's fine. That's good for a really little kid. But I mean, as we get a little older and a little more sophisticated, I think we need stories that tell the truth, because I think, well, I mean, I just think about the Bible. I love the Bible, and it's I don't know about you, just a big Bible fan personally. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've never read it. I don't
Yeah, well,
know.
check it
No,
out.
love
It's
the
not like a
Bible.
Green Ember level, but it's pretty good. No, no. Uh, it's so good, but it's like
Uh,
informs. There's so many different kinds of stories in there, so many different, and they're not
mhm.
just all. I mean, sometimes it is like, yeah, this person did something bad, and then this bad thing happened. Sometimes it's like a really, 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 really long time of prosperity
Mhm.
as they after they're doing. So there's just like all kinds of like the reality of the world. I feel a big, as a parent and as a kind of a steward in this storytelling role, where I feel a lot of responsibility because there's just so many kids and parents and involved. I just love these kids, and I want to give them a good gift. I want to be faithful in my vocation. I want to show up, and I can't lie to them. I must not tell lies. I have to, and I think I want them to not just be, they're not going to be safe. Like life is not safe. Like there's going to be cancer, there's going to be death. They're all going to die, probably, almost certainly. at some point. So they're all going to be facing. They're all going to have people die in their lives, probably sooner than any of us wish.
Mhm.
For that they're going to face difficult times and tough things, really, really tough things. And I want them to be armed against that in a way, armored. I want them to have like a vicarious experience with danger. I mean, I feel like going through the Lord of the Rings was a real arming thing for me. I mean, as a
Mhm.
young person, just like having those stories in my heart, in my head, in my imagination was it's such a gift because it was I love that I love the happy ending. I love the better than expected happy. I think that's a thoroughly sort of Christian way to tell stories. There are other faithful stories in the Christian world, which is like,
Mhm.
yeah, you just like you end up dying, or it's like there's tragedies, there's all kinds of different kinds of stories, but there's sort of like if you think about the whole scope of the Bible, there is this sort of like, oh my goodness, we had a really cool beginning that got really fouled up bad by sin and everything, and but the end, the recreation is better than the first one. It's so much so it's like a happier than you could have believed ending. And Tolkien had that eucatastrophe, that sudden joyous turn in the Lord of the Rings. But I want to deal honestly with what as honestly as I can, hospitably,
Sure.
for deal with sort of like some of the tougher realities of life. And I think that in turn doesn't just make them, oh, I'm safe, so I'm protected, I'm underneath this kind of this covering, and what that really means is the moment you're out of it, you're exposed in a in
Mhm.
a in a dangerous way. So I really believe that that's important, and that doesn't mean that my stories are like gratuitously violent or anything. I think I handle that stuff really tastefully, like,
Sure.
but it's intense. People die. It's like it's hard. It's a tough kind of a thing. There's separation. There's loss, and I that the books have really resonated with people in pain in a way that I am very surprised by. I was
Mm.
surprised by, and I think that's because it's like deals more honestly with suffering.
100%. I feel like that's one of the problems that I mean, I don't know if you consider your book and video game necessarily like tagged with the Christian tag, or if you
They
even
both
wanted to
got
do that.
saved. Both the book and the game have gotten saved. So they're fine.
but,
Yeah,
but I mean, Christian themed media for years, especially when I was a kid, when we were
yeah,
kids, that's how they were. They were saccharine. It was
yes.
okay, yeah, a lot of bad things, and then Jesus, and then it's all puppies and rainbows for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
that's how they always ended. And that's why I think the first time I saw a piece of Christian media that flipped that script, it wasn't a great movie, but it was called The Second Chance, and it was Michael W. Smith was the lead actor in the movie, and
From West Virginia,
he did
West
a
Virginia
decent,
boy.
yeah, he did a decent job. But it was all about this church that was like an inner city church that was run down, and it was subsidized by this mega church, and the mega church decided they were going to stop funding that church and close it down. And so it was like this angry and visceral,
Mm,
with the pastor there, and Michael W. Smith played the son of the lead pastor at the mega church. Um, and like it was brutal, and it didn't end with a resolution
mm,
where everybody was happy or anything like that. And I'm like, wow. I still felt inspired. I still
yeah.
felt hope. It still delivered all the right messages, but it delivered it in a way that at the end I felt that makes more sense to humanity
Mm,
than just like you said, the Bible is full of, great stories that are, simple and clean, and then 1,000% more of characters that are flawed, and they'll have good stretches and they'll have bad stretches, and
yeah.
good things will happen and bad things will happen. The rain will fall on the good and the righteous and the unrighteous, the whole thing. And I think that starting that with children um, is is a fantastic idea, because it doesn't sugarcoat the world in a way that once they get older and actually start to experience these things, that they're caught off guard, that they're blindsided.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant that we're seeing more and more of that in the faith-based community when it comes to the movies, the TV shows, and books, and even video games we're getting into now. Um, there's a few that they've that we've backed as Love Thy Nerd, or that we've been behind as they've been building, like Bible X, has been doing Gate Zero for a while now, and I think they're nearly done with it. But it's it's encouraging that this is the road that we're finally down, and it's not just that we have Christian content, but it's that we have good, clean content that actually tells the truth.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you,
And
man.
yeah, I mean, I told you before we started, I haven't read your books. I didn't even know about your books, but
They're not that good,
now
honestly.
that I do, I cannot wait to read them myself and go through them with my kids. And the more you talk, the more I want to do that. Um, one
Another
of the
sale. Yes.
yes,
We're
cha-ching.
gonna eat tonight, kids.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you as our first guest here on the show is because of the reviews that I've seen. The Green Ember books aren't just clean, they're good, as in well written, daring, emotional, deeply rooted in truth. So many parents today are hungry for that kind of media. And as we just talked about all that, but you kind of one of the things that you do is kind of like this old soul storytelling. The what am I trying to say? The books seem to be leading into a narrative that comes from someone who knows. It's setting up uh, a path that these children and their parents can walk down that is fantastical and weird, just like Narnia or Lord of the Rings, but at the same time tells those human stories that um, we kind of crave a little bit more as we get older.
Mm.
Because the phrase rabbits with swords is just inherently awesome. Uh, on a literary level, your world has depth. It has kingdoms, it has heirs, evil alliances, dragons coming, right? We're getting
Kind of.
dragons.
Yeah, yeah, there's I don't want to spoil too much, but there is yeah, there one of the books is called Prince Lander and the Dragon
Mm.
Wars. There's yeah, there's some they're Komodo dragons. So yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
but yeah, yeah.
Well, the name of the video game is also Helmer and the Dragon Tomb, right? Is this
Yeah.
also Komodo dragons?
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to go too deep in the lore, but
Okay.
yeah, the dragons sort of yeah. There's a place in their history. So there you're kind. It's kind of a it's more of a place than it is sort of. But yeah, there's several different scary bad guys. There's bad rabbits. There's wolves. There are birds of prey are the main kind of one, and then sometimes these bad old dragons get in there too.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the Helmer and the Dragon Tomb. Like it's a is this a it's a book and a video game?
Yeah.
This is where I'm a little confused. So it is a book
Yeah,
and a video game.
I think a lot of people are confused. I think
Right.
it's good to be able to sort of describe it. Yeah, when we first started talking about doing a video game, I didn't want to just adapt one of the books that was already out there. I kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool to just sort of have a new experience and I hadn't seen anybody doing this, but I was like, let's do a story together. Like let's release a book and a game where it's the same story. So I wrote the book and the game narrative like at the same time and
Okay.
sort of hand in hand as the game was being developed. We worked with some partners at Brazen Animation out of Texas, and they're fantastic and good friends for a long time. We talked through doing like film and TV stuff for a long time.
And they've worked with a lot of big names,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah, they're
Brazen,
yes, they've worked with kind of all the big names,
all the big
Epic,
boys.
and they work on Fortnite and
Right.
film stuff. They're just sort of they're top class. And so we were working with so yeah, developed the book and the game together, and the narrative and I that for me that was really exciting. I'm learning now that I think that's a little more difficult to for people to sort of understand it quickly. It's such a simple prospect to say like, here's a game. It's like this. And it's it's about this, and that's kind of a simple prospect. Or here's a
Yeah.
book. Here's the next book in the Green Ember world, So that's simple, but when you put them together, it is a little bit like I think because maybe the people haven't done it for good reason. uh, but it's I think it's ambitious in a way, but I wanted my whole thing is really is like this. I want to be radically hospitable to these kids. I want to give them something that's fantastic. And for me, that was just a cool, fun idea to share this narrative at the same time. And you could start with a game, you could start with a book. The game could be a gateway into the reading. The reading can be a gateway into the game. And that to me was fun. Kids play the Green Ember all the time. Like there's so many kids that just play in their backyards and they'll dress
Sure.
up.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen thousands and they do art. They make their own stories. Some have even made like really simple video game kind of things. So I just like this is just like a new way to play. Like it's a little bit of a throwback kind of a game to games I loved when I was growing up, and in some ways, but it's got like way better graphics, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, you
Uh,
mentioned Zelda, Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, and then the one that you mentioned that immediately stood out to me when I saw the preview over at Kickstarter was Tunic,
yeah,
which we had one of our guys play through that entire game on stream a couple years ago when it came out, and I remember just being like, "This is a beautiful, beautiful video game." And then I
yeah,
saw your stuff. I'm like, "That looks amazing." It's the same kind of top-down semi. I don't know how you say it.
like three
Semi
quarter.
diagonal. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
There we
yeah,
go. That's the word.
yeah,
Three
three quarter.
quarter.
Yeah, yeah. I had to learn all
Um,
these things. I don't know what that means. Yeah,
uh,
Tunic was a big inspiration. I mean, honestly, there's several of us who were working on it, and thinking through like early stages, and we were kind of like, what should it, and I'm not a massive gamer. Like I play here and there, but I still love like Galaga and like Mario Brothers and
oh, the
Tecmo
classics.
Bowl, and
Yeah.
I'm not like completely stuck back then, but I'm like that's when I was young and had more
Sure.
had devoted more time to it at that time. So it's like there's something about the sort of the Ikari Warriors and Contra like that. I love those kind of games. So there, I wanted it to have some kind of flavor of that. So feel a little bit, but it needed to have, the new. And so when we saw Tunic, I think one of the partners was like, "Hey, that's check this out." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, that is just." And Tunic's, it's not really fair to Tunic to say this game is because Tunic's its own, it's
Sure.
playing everywhere.
100%.
This is
But
more on rails. It's
right.
more of a story narrative, and I think that has some strengths actually. But yeah, Tunic is so fun. I thought
Yeah,
it just
Tunic was the definition of off the rails.
yeah,
You didn't even have language to read signs when
right.
you started. Like you just, well, okay, what
Yeah.
do I do?
Yeah, and this is not like that. This is much more, but I think some of
But
the
visually
yeah,
and
visually it's
yeah,
similar. Yeah, yeah,
spirit, yeah, it
yeah, yeah.
feels very good. It makes me excited to play it as well.
I can't wait
Is
to
it
get your copy, man. I can't wait to yeah. I hope you enjoy it. Hopefully, we'll be demoing it pretty soon. I mean, there's like a dirty demo, sort of like
sure?
it's not like it's still broken. It's still we test things, but I've gotten to play it a few times, or in these different stages, and it's fun. It is fun to play. It's got cool action. I mean, it's enjoyable. I'm excited.
Now, are you balancing it in a way that it would be accessible to younger kids, but also still entertaining for adults
Yeah, I
to
think
play?
so. I
Like, yeah,
mean, that's kind of the deal with the
it's a
books
difficult.
anyway,
Yeah,
is that the books were, you were kind of alluding to it earlier, but I call them they're new stories with an old soul. And I think that's true. They have sort of the modern pacing of novels, but honestly, what happens a lot, and I've said this a lot, but you can't believe how many times I've been told this as an experience. You have a mom doing a read aloud, and she's reading, she comes to the end of like the first book, and the kids are jumping off the couch like so hype and just like yeah, like they're like so excited, and the mom is crying. And this is just I've been told this, honestly, it has to be thousands of times, and it's just amazing, and I understand it completely immediately. Sometimes the kids are like, well, "Mom, what are you crying for? Why are you crying? This is amazing." And the mom's like, "You'll understand someday. You'll
hmm
understand."
hmm
And so I think it's working. And again, this is not no cleverness on my part. I had no idea what I was doing, but it works on these two levels. Like for parents sort of like get the deeper sort of like the resonance with sort of the reality of the world. I think there's a deep resonance in that sense with like the truth and beauty and goodness. I think that's happening on this sort of deep level, like a river flowing underneath this. But at the top, it's just like, there's arrows and swords and fighting and winning back and the high stakes and low hopes and overcoming. And so I think it kind of works, and I hope that the game works in a similar way that it works for, like my favorite stuff was like, when Pixar was on that run of just like, well, whatever they're putting out, I'm just going to go
Oh
see it.
yeah, yeah, where they were must see. Yeah.
And every member of my family from like 3 years old to 40 years old or whatever we were at the time. I'm 48 now, but we were all 100% in. We all
Hmm.
loved it so much, and that's similar. I mean, not like to that level, but there is something similar happening with Green Ember, and I want that to happen. I want it to be, and I think the game is like, well, my 13-year-old is obviously is like way better at it than I am. So it's harder for me. So my guess is it's got a good mix of like it's not. I hope I'm really curious to see how you get on with it and whether you think it's like the difficulty level is good enough. I think that can be adjusted. Is my understanding that that's going to be in, so that'll help some with like the younger
Sure,
kids.
that's great. Yeah, I mean
But I
it's
think it works. I think it's hard enough, and it's but it's not like completely wear you down and destroy you psychologically. Difficult difficult level. I hope.
so you have said something that I love. You said that serving the kids is saving the world.
Mm.
Which I think is a well fantastic tagline, but it feels like the Green Ember has become more than a story. It's kind of like a movement among families. Like you said, you're getting fan art, there's birthday parties, cosplay,
Yeah.
you're expanding from just a book to a video game. uh, just how does it feel to see the way like God has let this story take root in so many families, like just
And
personally?
on the simple level, it really is because it's such a family story that it's so identified for me with my time with my kids, and I genuinely was like, that is good enough. I genuinely believe that like if it's just this story that we shared and the grandpa and you kind of pass it down and like, oh, I read that to my I read it to my grandkids. I'll read it to they'll maybe pass it down for a while and people will be like, oh, grandpa saying that was good. So it had like this really cool beginning. So when other people started enjoying it too and it spread, it literally was kind of like, oh, we're having them over for dinner and they kind of like our old family recipes too. It's like,
Mm,
oh, that's kind of cool. They like grandma's, chicken casserole or something. Like they're into that too. It felt like something just very natural, very organic. So it's been, in a sense, I mean, there's been surprising moments and I'm like, wow, this is what? Okay, that's okay. I'm really surprised. Oh, good. Oh, now, I can quit my job now. And, I kind of, there's been surprising and exciting moments in the whole journey, but it's also been felt very natural. Like the relationship with the kids and with the families. My company Storyworm, we call ourselves Allies in Imagination. And that's how it's always felt. It's just like I've never felt like I mean not too much. I mean there's always pride and there's always sin involved and there's these mixtures of so that's I think people might be surprised by the the kinds of probably challenges that I have maybe not be the ones that you might think. Like sometimes I would probably be you have something that's kind of really successful and it's like, oh, this is what I would have dreamed of in so many ways. But sometimes I would probably be more tempted towards like sins of despair than sins of like I'm on top of the world. I'm proud. It's kind of that
mhm,
thing that people, if you pull back the curtain a little bit, like the kind of ways that people are hurting sometimes that have like success are not
sure.
always like what you think.
Yeah.
So, but I have enjoyed, and I've had a very broadly natural, like organic relationship with the audience in a way that I do love them, and I am committed. I do think sort of all vocations as a Christian, I have to look at that as an opportunity for love and service. That it's not just about like fame or self-expression that people need to gather around me because I'm such a genius, and if I express myself, then people will gather and they will, I mean, I like to have attention. I like to sell books. I like to have success. I want to work really hard and do good, and I like to win. I like to be competitive, all that kind of stuff. But also, it's just like there is a tenderness at the heart of my mission that I don't ever have to fake. I mean, it's because the original audience was my kids, and
Yeah.
because the existing audience is thousands of kids. I've done a lot of tours and stuff. So I was telling you about going through, the Southwest, and I've met thousands and thousands of kids. I've done signing lines for hours and hours, meeting all. I've seen their faces. I've seen them dressed up, and I love them. And I don't have to pretend to do that. I love them, and I want to give them a good gift. I wouldn't betray them for all the money in the world.
Hmm.
And that's a pretty cool gig. And doesn't mean that it's easy. Like I wake up every morning just like happy and bouncing. Like I've got to like do stuff and do business stuff, and it's hard. And there's slugs and there's down, and there's up. And but the fundamental sort of disposition of my vocation is so joyful and so natural in a way that I love these kids. And I so if I do like an interview or something, or I'm talking to somebody, like I never have to be like, oh, okay, I gotta like, what's the company line? I gotta think, be nice to these stupid idiots. I don't have contempt for my audience. Like sometimes you'll hear artists that are like, they feel like they're too good for their audience. They
Mm.
kind of like, oh, my unsophisticated people, they listen to the radio or they, whatever. Like, and I don't like that. And probably because I'm from West Virginia and I I've got a like a don't get too big for your britches sort of like very deep in my
Mentality, yeah.
bones. I love my audience. I think they're awesome people. I've met so many of them, and they're great families. They care about their kids. They're like our family. So I just feel a lot like I just want to be an ally to them. I want to serve them, and that doesn't mean that give them figure out what do they want and read the market. It's not that. I feel like there's such a synergy between like what's in my heart to give and what's in their heart to sort of like share with their kids. So I can't remember what your original question was, but I feel I don't have to fake the passion for it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. And yeah, serving kids, saving the world. I believe there's such a massive correlation. That the kids receiving and experiencing sort of better culture, so to speak, or cultural texts, whether those are video games, books, movies, that kind of thing. I think that does. I'm a better person. I am. Better off in many ways, and the people around me, my community is better off that J.R.R. Tolkien was speaking into my life in a massive way,
Hmm.
in a huge way, and it still does. And C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton and Jane Austen, and like that is a big deal. Like for my like how I father my daughters, it's significant that Jane Austen spent so much time in my heart, in my mind, that how I communicate. Oh, you know what kind of guys are really, I know a lot of stuff because of her. And if that was some crappy romance novels that were just infecting my mind, or some kind of, I don't know, whatever the worst kind of things you can think of. If like that, there's a difference, it matters. And so I think like loving these kids and serving them and giving them good gifts and being honest with them, not lying to them is world changing because it has this. You change one kid, you have an impact on one little kid who has like this little experience with light for the first time in their life. Maybe their life is just completely fallen apart, their family's fallen apart, and they have this vision about what it means for what goodness is. That's what happened with Lewis. Is Lewis had this encounter with Fantastes, and he's an atheist, an ardent atheist, and he's training under a brilliant atheist, the old knock and Kirkpatrick, and he gets this book, Fantastes, and he reads it, and he said it had like this aroma of holiness, of goodness, and that was like a seed in his heart. And I just think there are kids out there for whom the Green Ember or something like might just be of this experience of light,
Hmm.
and it'd be worth it for just one, because the compounding impact of one person, walking in the way of life, walking toward the kingdom of God, in my opinion, versus sort of the way of death is so profound. So I believe it. I believe you serve the kids and you save the world. I absolutely believe it.
Yeah, I love the way that you're talking about how that spreads. It really is like a ripple effect. I mean, it's similar even just to how Jesus worked when he was on earth. It's individuals that spread the word at that point. It's a rock in a pond, and
Yeah.
each child that jumps in on this and it changes their thinking of society, of themselves, of their worth, of what being a hero, what being a victor means, what facing darkness means, um, how we treat our enemies, things of that nature. The more that we can get younger generations seeing things clearly in a way that will prepare them for the world in a way that is uplifting to them spiritually
Mhm.
and morally. Like, I mean, it's your books have the reputation of not being preachy.
Mhm.
They are stories though of deep moral imagination, which is it's similar um to Chronicles of Narnia. It's you're not
Except
being
way better. I mean, it's that's they're very similar, but just like
just make sure we understand we're at the
yeah.
top.
I'm trying
Uh
to get the word out about the Chronicles of Narnia, but people are just like, "What? What are you talking about?" And we want more Green Ember.
I mean, it's the only thing I've heard. Uh it's it's a way I think that because they're not like I said, they're not preachy books. They're not inherently like um well, read this and you'll be saved. Kind of things. But
They're not
what's true
utilitarian, Matt. They're not
right.
like they're not just vehicles for like this is I have a really important truth I want to communicate and I'll use story like sort of
Hmm.
like a
And then at
warning.
the end of the
No,
book
no.
is the salvation plan and you walk through it
Right. No,
before you
no,
can
no. It's an
finish reading
honest
it. Yeah.
story. It is it's an authentic it
Right.
is.
Which is
That's
good for
important.
Christian families and non-Christian families alike
Yeah.
because these are moral truths in the world. I mean, it's not just a this is great for Christian families because it teaches them the Christian values and how to live in a Christian world. This is God's world. I mean,
Yes.
this is the truth of reality of every living soul is going to have to deal with this stuff. And but to see how your faith has obviously shaped these stories is, I think, inspiring for a lot of parents. I think there's quite a few parents, myself included, who want to be able to create stories like this and tell these stories to kids. I've tried coming up with original stories for my children every now and then for bedtime, and uh, they're okay. They're not
I
great.
bet they love them. I bet they love
So
them
there
so
is
much.
a word there is a something to be said for a degree of talent that you need for some of this stuff, and it's clear that God has blessed you in that area. You you talked about Brazen Entertainment a little bit, and Long Treader Games is the team you got. Can you kind of tell us how that collaboration came together, and what families can really expect in terms of quality because of them?
Yeah, man. So I saw so immediately it was funny right off the bat with when we first you're talking it's funny you're talking about like even people who are not Christian sort of resonating with
Hmm.
his books and that's definitely happened like right off the bat from it wasn't very long the Green Ember was out that we got in I got contacted by a film studio that wanted to make a film and they weren't Christians and actually it was funny because they were like I see a lot of Christians really love this like can you explain to me why this would be a Christian. It was neat because I was like, okay, well, I'll share the gospel.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it was, yeah, they're not sort of, you know, like you think of like Christian fiction. They're
Sure.
probably not in that category. And we've sort of like operated completely outside of the Christian book industry or the
Hmm.
sort of New York. Like we're sort of not affiliated with either. I mean, in a sense, we've not operated in either of those spaces. It's been a really independent sort of operation out of West Virginia. You know, the center of all media place in the in the world, the
In the
hills and
world,
hollers.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
We all know about that. But so yeah, there's always been those conversations. So like pretty early on, I was like, okay, yeah, this would be a cool film, cool TV show. You know, how do we think about that? And Brazen Animation, they had done a short called Tempest, which if you just go to Brazen and check out
Sounds
Tempest,
familiar.
it's so
Yeah.
cool, so amazing. So I was just like, oh, these guys are unbelievable. And I found out that they were Christians, and just we I met up with the main guy there, Brian Ingram, who's the owner and kind of visionary of that operation, and became really good friends with him over the years. We met up, and when I was doing like a book tour or something in Texas, we would get together, and so we were just kind of dreaming for many years, like maybe we'll be able to work together someday on a film. And they had such it was just a really they're really encouraging because they are Christians, but they I feel like they were doing in the animation or other spaces that the kind of what we were what our heart was to do in the book space, which was to really do high quality off work that was just that was stood up no matter like sort of what lens you were looking through. So
Sure.
they've worked with NBA and the NFL and all the video game makers, and they're just like really really top level. So anyway, when we started working on the video game concept, we turned to them basically for advice. It was like, because I know they'd worked with all these companies, and I was like, so what do you guys think? Do you have any recommendations? And Brian was like, what about us? And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And he said, we've been working on a game for a while, and we've got a games division going. And we were like, okay, so we just sort of will definitely listen to you. And we'd kind of been through sort of looking at a lot of different things, and their game was awesome. And we met with their team, and sort of we all just agreed like this is what we wanted to do for a long time. So we partnered up. Our we started Long Treader Games. So this is an independent game that we are
Right.
released
Right. Right. Yeah.
through
Sorry
Long
about that.
Treader,
Long Treasure
but
is
Brazen has
you,
been our
and Brazen your
partner,
partner.
and they've been a fantastic partner, and we're still working together daily. Awesome time. The Chris Osbrink has been the director on their side, and he's such a genius, like creatively, and he's been awesome to collaborate with. They've got a really great team of Nick and Calvin and Jasmine, and there's just several people there that we've been working really closely with. They've got a very, really, really high quality. I mean, we knew the visuals would be good because that's what they do.
Hmm.
But I've been really impressed. I mean, I've been blown away by the visuals, but then the gameplay and the inventiveness and
Mm.
actually um, the story sort of chops that Chris has is just he's been really fun to collaborate with because he just gets it. He's done a lot of filmmaking and he just understands how stories work really well. So I love those guys. Highly, highly recommend everything they do. They're just fantastic. That we would never have been able to do this. Would never be able to do this without them. They've been a fantastic partners.
So you kind of tease a little bit about the possibility of other things, like after books, after video games. What do you think is next? Animated series, movie, Broadway
I
musical with rapping rabbits.
That's the one. You got it finally. Yeah, I mean it's a little cliche, but that's what we're thinking. Um, the rapping, I mean, it doesn't have to be on Broadway, but they do have to rap. I mean, I think that's
I think it's pretty clear.
I won't stand for anything. That's pretty much
The
the whole
alliteration
point.
alone requires it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for years we've been sort of like we've talked to a lot of probably all the people that you would think of, and the people that everyone emails me all the time saying, "Hey, have you thought of this?" Like, yes, we have, probably. We've had a lot of great conversations, a lot of great people, and over the time, and we're just kind of waiting for the right partners and the right timing. I do
Sure.
take like the stewardship super seriously, maybe like too seriously, in some ways, but I care so much
Of
about like
course.
how it comes out and the ownership of it. It just matters a lot to me. So I just think it's getting more and more inevitable in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And but it's just such a different thing. And this was cool. I mean, we have learned. I mean, oof, I could talk for a long time about all the like mistaken plans or the mistaken like concepts I had about how this would work out. So
Mm.
we've learned so much about collaboration because books, I mean, it's like me and Andrew. Andrew's our publisher. My brother Josiah is our CEO. We're like a really small little outfit, and we've got some other part-time employees, a few other full-time, but it's a real small operation. And most of
Hmm.
the time, it was just the three of us. And so like like we know how to do books. Like we've done those. Like we've done this is my 16th book, Helmer and the Dragon Team,
Whew.
and our company's put out a few more. So we know how to do that, and that
Hmm.
and you don't need that many people. It's a nice little small. You can do it out of your garage in West Virginia, but you can't do a video game out of your garage in West Virginia. Well, maybe you can. We can't, and you
Yeah.
can't do a film probably. An animated film, not of the quality that we're going for.
Of
So
course.
it just
Yeah.
takes a lot more money, a lot more collaboration. So this has been a really good, I don't want to call it like a stepping stone, but it's because I don't view it that. I view this as having value in itself for
Sure.
sure. But it has been valuable as a way to learn about more about how we would want to approach from financially to the creative, all this stuff about making like, and I want to do films. I want to do films and TV. I want to do it all
Yeah.
for sure. But we got to have the right partners because I can't do it, myself.
Right. Yeah. Maybe not stepping stone, but almost like a launching pad. I just looking at the the early footage of the video game itself, one of the things I thought of, oh, this would make a beautiful animated show, like
Yeah.
cartoon or movie. Like it could be
Yeah.
a movie too, but like a series of this somewhere would be fantastic. It kind of almost gave me I don't know if you ever saw Tumbleleaf.
Huh, no.
Tumbleleaf was a oddly adventurous kind of kindergarten show
Hmm.
that I watched with all three of my kids on Amazon Prime. But it had that kind of feel to it of just like a adventurous, but the design is what it looked like. If you haven't seen it, I can't really compare it to you, but go check it
Okay.
out and you might see what I mean. You might see the
Cool.
connection. I don't know if you will or not, but
Yeah.
I think it would look beautiful. And so I'm I'm telling you, the more you're talking, the more I'm like, okay, my family's going to become a Green Ember family.
Wait till you read the book.
I've already got a tab open to order book the first couple
Dude, I'm gonna
books.
send you all the. You're gonna give me your address. And I'm gonna send you all the books. So that's
Oh,
that'll, and then you'll feel even more guilty and wanting to read them. But so
that's
when you're
good.
like, what is this? What is this garbage? You'll have a lot going against it. But
Oh, well, I will be greatly appreciative of that then. All right. Well, before we wrap up, then, I do want to ask a question that I plan to ask all of my guests on the Good Clean Nerdcast here is what is one piece of good, clean, nerdy media, a book, game, movie, anything that you are loving right now and would love to recommend to our listeners?
mm, good, clean. I can't think of. Let's see. What is It's just like I can't think of anything other than the Green Ember. I think everything else is terrible. Um,
I wouldn't want to do a disservice to your listeners by recommending anything as awful as not
yeah,
Green Ember.
yeah. What are people thinking when they do that? It's so funny, man. Let's see. I
It
mean,
doesn't
there's
necessarily have to be something family friendly, but just
no. I'm
any
with you,
age,
man.
look good. But
Yeah. So I'm really digging. I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking several times, maybe partly because I'm using the book to prop up my computer here, but is Glenn McCarty, and this is so selfish because our company's put this out, but I'm just thinking about him right now. Uh, Glenn McCarty is an author who I love so much and just loved for many, many years, and he's got a series called the Tumbleweed Thompson books, and it's two books in so far. The first one's called The Misadventure Summer of Tumbleweed Thompson, and the second one's called The Golden Road of Tumbleweed Thompson. And I think Glenn is such a good writer, and it's like you think about a good clean, like it's very, like sometimes I don't know if you experience this, like you'll watch something with your family, and then it'll be something like profane or something that happens. You're like, did we need that? Like it doesn't help
hmm
the story. It doesn't do anything. Like Glenn's, I don't know, man. It's his writing is so it's clean, like in more senses than just like not offensive or whatever, or not profane.
hmm
It's just like it's clear and like good, like a really like a fresh stream, kind of like it's just wholesome and funny and adventurous, like and fun. And he's such a good writer. Like I just think about I mean, I don't say this in a modest, like false modesty, but he's a better writer than I am. Like I know like the craft of writing pretty well, and I just the way to evaluate him, he's so good. He's efficient and it's clear and it's wholesome, it's winsome, it's so those books, the Tumbleweed Thompson books, are just like sticking in my head as just being like the first thing I thought of. I've actually thought of Jane Austen and who I love, and then oh, dude, I don't know, you should check out the Jane Austen video game goof that we put out. It's if you go to I'm on Instagram at SD Smithereens, but just scroll down for Rumble at Rosings. It's like a fake video
Rumble at
game
Rosings.
of
Okay.
Pride and Prejudice. It's very funny, but that Zach Franzen who works with us, he's an artist and illustrator for all my books, and he made this thing. It's so funny to me, like sort of introducing the idea of a video gamization of a novel. It's really funny, but yeah, Tumbleweed Thompson by Glenn McCarty would be my choice.
That's fantastic. All right, I love it. Finally, where can our listeners go to find your books, to back the game, and to join this fight for hope with rabbits and swords?
It's a mystery, man. They just have to. I think it's like people are on their own quests, and I think the fewer clues, the better. I think they just need to go and
You have to find my home address and write me a handwritten letter.
give
No
me a
typing.
call. Well, I would love it if people would consider backing the Kickstarter. That would mean the world to me. I think it is more than just like, what can I get for my family? I do think there's a bit of a opportunity culturally to do something that's special
Hmm.
and serve a lot of kids. So I'm kind of, well, I'm all in on that. But I would invite people to consider that as a kind of a thing to invest in. But I think it's, there's good value in the Kickstarter. It is kind of like a pre-sale. They don't want you to say that, but I'm saying it. Kickstarter. What are you going to do about it? It's a way to pre-order sort of the game and the book, and I love that they go together. Some people are like, I want the game or I want the book, and I'm it's very intent sort of for us to combine
To
these
package
together.
them together, yeah.
Yeah, it means, I mean, I think it's important for right now, but sdsmith.com, you can find anything. My pretentious initials, sdsmith.com. You can find about everything there.
We will make sure to put the link to that as well as the direct link to the Kickstarter in the show notes and on the website. And we'll put your socials in there as well, just so people can go find that
Thank you.
Jane
Wow.
Austen video game spoof. Uh, Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. This conversation has been both inspiring and incredibly fun. I cannot wait to start reading the Green Ember with my kids, honestly. And I will be backing the Kickstarter as well.
Thank you.
Here, Love Thy Nerd, I believe, will be backing it as well. So, as for all of you listening, like we said, head to the Kickstarter, link in the show notes, grab the new book, back the game, be part of a storytelling revolution that is building a brighter world for our families. Until next time, Sam, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you.
I'm excited for, well, I'm excited first to just learn that this whole world exists that I've been oblivious to. But I'm excited for where it is going and where it will go inevitably in the future, I'm sure of. Everyone listening, keep it nerdy, keep it clean, keep fighting the darkness with the light. I am Radio Matt. We will see you next time on the Good Clean Nerdcast. And if no one else tells you, always remember, Jesus loves you, nerds.